In a strategic move, the Bank of Canada opts for stability, maintaining the key interest rate at 5% in its last announcement of 2023. For some context, interest rates have been this high since 2001, back when I was still in high school and had a full head of hair. Depressing. Though it is typical for home sales to dip this time of the year, November saw a significant drop, leading to the lowest sales in a decade. Not surprising considering our interest rate situation. Contributing to this slump, homes are taking longer to sell, leading to more inventory on the market and sale prices leveling off. So with that in mind, let's take a look at total sales. A total of 441 residential homes were sold in November through the MLS system in Waterloo Region, which is down 4.5% compared to this time last year. Total residential sales in November included 266 detached homes, 31 semis, 81 townhomes, and 62 condo units. So that gives us a good overview of activity. Let's take a look at average prices. The average sale price for all residential properties in Kitchener-Waterloo was just over $757,000. Up 2.6% compared to November of last year, but actually down 1.4% compared to October last month. So as you can see, although we're having less sales happening, prices are still up year over year on average. The average price of a detached home was just over $891,000. Up 5.8% compared to November of last year and on par with last month. So as you can see, we're almost 6% higher on average for detached homes compared to November of 2022. The average sale price for a semi was just over $617,000, down 3.9% compared to November of last year and down 6.2% compared to last month. So semis are taking a bit of a beating. The average sale price for townhomes was just under $612,000. Down 1.7% compared to November of last year and down 5.1% compared to last month. So townhomes aren't doing so great either. The average sale price for an apartment-style condo was just over $450,000. Down 1.3% compared to November of last year and also down 5.4% compared to October. Now let's wrap up with volume. There were 868 new listings added to the MLS system in KW and area last month, which is up 15% compared to November of last year. There were 1,305 homes available for sale in an active status at the end of November. This is an increase of almost 55% compared to November of last year and 21% above the previous 10-year average of 1,079 listings for November. There were 2.4 months of inventory at the end of November. This is an increase of 84.6% compared to last year. The average number of days to sell was 24 compared to 22 days in November of last year. The previous 5-year average is 20 days. This market can be summarized in 3 scenarios: good, bad, and ugly. And depending on whether you're a buyer or a seller, you can have different moves that you can make in this current environment. The ugly is what I'm seeing happening to more and more folks this year. The ugly usually breaks down to someone purchasing in the peak with minimal equity or with 20% down, and now they're trying to sell their property in a different environment with that property being worth 10, 20, 30, 40% less depending on what they purchased at. Now also what's happening is that maybe they got into a scenario where they're in a variable interest rate and over the last year, their mortgage payment has doubled. So not only are they paying way more money every month, the value of their home is now less. So they're in a constricted position now where it's hard for them to sell. And if they have to sell, let's say you're going through a divorce, you can't sustain the payments anymore, you're in a very difficult situation, and I sincerely feel for all you folks that are in that scenario right now. You basically have to rip the Band-Aid off. If you need to sell, you're gonna have to adjust your price and your expectations, and you're gonna be taking a loss. That's what's unfortunately gonna be the reality. My advice to you in this scenario is focus on what you can control. You can't control the market, you can't control the interest rate, you can't control the timing. You can control how your home shows in this market, who's marketing your home, how does it smell, look, feel, etc. That's really all you have control over, the marketing and the presentation. The environment, it is what it is. The other last and vital thing is the price. Many of you folks out there, and if you're even looking at Realtor.ca, House Sigma, etc., you're seeing homes that are just priced at ridiculous numbers relative to the market. Last year would have been a great bargain. Right now, it doesn't make any sense. With so much inventory in the market, buyers have lots of selection. They're not even wasting their time looking at an overpriced listing like that, unless there's maybe something special about it. But really, the chances of it selling at that overpriced number that's on the list price is probably not gonna happen. So what ends up happening is that listing stays at a high price, maybe it gets reduced, maybe they're chasing the market, and the market has been dropping down over the last 6 months. So price your property correctly, present it in the best fashion that you can, and get the right agent working in your corner to mitigate and minimize your losses in this scenario. Next is bad. Now, bad is a relative term. If you're selling in this market and you've owned your property for 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years, yes, you're not gonna get the peak pricing of 2022, but it's more of a balanced market now. There's a lot more competition that you're gonna experience when you're on the market. If you're listing your home, buyers have 6, 7, 10, 20 options that are comparable to your home. So you're not gonna be able to get the 2022 crazy pricing that we were all shocked by last year. So in this scenario, again, you can't control the market. You can only control how your home shows, how it's marketed, and what the price is. If you're gonna overprice your home in this market by 5 or 10% or 20%, you're just gonna sit on the market, your listing's gonna become stale, and people and buyers in the market are gonna start wondering what's wrong with your home. So the vital thing is get the right advice, price your home correctly in this market, have the right plan to get it gone. Now the bad scenario for buyers was during the peak of last year and in the years leading up to this whole scenario, when money was cheap, prices were high. And everybody was just getting blown out in multiple offers. Things were difficult to purchase and buyers were having a hard time. Now that prices have fallen, interest rates have increased. So now your affordability, you can't afford as much home. The stress tests are killing you, they're breaking you, and also the affordability of floating that mortgage is more difficult. The positive side is you're gonna have to put less of a down payment down to purchase a property, but again, it's all relative. So you're in a bit of a catch-22. Eventually, prices will go up when the interest rates drop. So for example, you buy a property today, and again, I'm not saying you have to or you don't have to, and I'm not forcing anyone because I'm not here to sell anybody anything. I'm here to give you advice based on your life circumstance. If you're wanting to start a family and get married and do all these things, you can't wait forever, right? Time is passing us by every day. So you have to make some sort of decision and get into a property and move on. Whether that's renting right now and waiting, or whether that's getting into a property now when the market is relatively balanced. Maybe perhaps you get into a shorter term mortgage at a higher rate that's fixed, and then you refinance in a couple years when hopefully rates will come down. Or you ride out the storm and be a little bit more aggressive, get into a variable mortgage now, and maybe refinance in 6 months or 12 months when rates hopefully come down. We'll see what happens with that. They're saying that likely rates will start coming down mid-2024, but nobody really knows. And I'm not here to sell you anything or be the cliche salesperson to force you to buy. When there's blood in the water, that's when the best deals are made. So if you need to make moves, you have to weigh out your options and do what's right for you. Now, the best scenario to be in is obviously the good scenario. You have the means, you have the down payment, maybe you have a lot of equity. You're in a scenario where you can make moves in this market. Unfortunately, the people in the ugly bracket, some of them have to sell. They're under the gun, they can't afford their property. You being in the good scenario, having a pre-approval, having the income to sustain the current mortgage rates, you're in a position where you can shop and you can find a deal. that will work for you. Again, short term, the rates might be a bit higher, but again, you can always refinance down the road and change the monthly payment, change how much you're paying down in principal. That's all up to you. As a seller, again, if you want to be in the good camp, you've had your house for 20 years, you bought it for 200 grand, it's now worth 1.2, for example. You're in a position where it's all relative, right? If you're going to be downsizing to a property, you've got plenty of equity where you might not even have a mortgage, or it's going to be minimal. So you're in a fortunate position where you have the ability to look through the market, see what's on the market, not be under the gun, and you can make the right decision that works for you. So to summarize my good, bad, and ugly thesis, folks, there's no one right answer. Many folks will reach out to me, what do I do? Well, it's all relative to what your life circumstance is. And a lot of it is not necessarily logical. If you could rent a property for $3,000 versus having to buy that property, tie up your money, the opportunity cost of having that money invested, taxes, maintenance, headaches, and you have to pay $5,000 a month, logically, you would rent, right? But there's value in use, there's pride of ownership, there's the Canadian dream as well. So we make illogical or emotional decisions every day. So it depends on your personal scenario. If you have to sell, you have to sell. If you need to buy or you want to buy, then that's up to you. But hopefully these couple insights will help you make the right decision in this market. If you have a particular scenario that you want me to touch on, shoot me an email, leave me a comment below. We'll see you guys next month in the new year. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, Happy New Year. We'll see you in January. Take care.